everybody, Texas Stroke here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. We are back in the shop. Last night I was finally able to get around to editing a couple of videos. That would be Tool Haul 4.5 and 5, and what is this? Number 6, that's right. So, it's kind of strange because I left work just around 6:15, and it was sunny, and I got home, and I typically am leaving work about now, you know, a little after 7, so not quite sure what to make of this free time, and here we are. I've got some really sad projects coming up, which we'll probably cover at a later date and time, but this is one of those things, just like in the, I guess it was number 5, right? The Philo automatic wire stripper, the tool of the day. Every once in a while, the tool of the day is so good, it kind of necessitates purchase, and that is what got me on this one, and we'll talk about that. We'll see how it comes out in the box, but this one was actually a very quick transit. Ordered it over the weekend. I think it was tool of the day, either Friday or Saturday, and here I am on Wednesday, and that's relatively quick. So, we will open this sucker up and drop that back down to build suspense, right? There is the Wera flyer that's included with this. Looks like from January 1st to March 31st, 2019. You can kind of get their James Bond screwdriver. Now, I've got this set on manual focus in hopes that this would have worked better. And I'm not quite sure what I'm missing. This is the nicest camera I've ever had, but at the same time... Anyway, let's just jump into this, shall we? And this, my friends, was the tool of the day. Part number we're going to go with right there. ST11111030. Did I miss a one? I possibly did. But actually the part number, I believe, would be 415SG-QRN. So, what is it? Well, if you didn't know, now... This is an interesting story. I'm not sure if I should tell it yet or not. There it is. It's tiny. I will be the first to admit to you, this is a tiny, tiny ratchet. It's smaller than I anticipated, actually. Now, I guess I should tell you, my initial plan, I mentioned with those, you know, Wera sockets we took a look at in one of the previous videos, brought over the old Craftsman, said, hey, might be changing that soon, getting something new. I did not at all plan to have Stahlwille's ratchet. My plan was, in fact, to get a Stahlwille ratchet, but it was going to be the 1/2 inch, like the heavy-duty one. And then I intended to get a Wera ratchet to go with the 1/4 inch drive Wera sockets. Not necessarily the most scientific thing, but I figured if I kind of played my cards right, checked prices, I thought that would line up pretty well. Well, then this thing showed up on Tool of the Day for $59.99. Standard price... You're looking at a ridiculous amount for this thing, more than I would ever pay. $59.99 is kind of a hard pill to swallow, I'm not going to lie, but I felt like this would give me a good feel for how their ratchets perform if I want to pursue them. The big plan, I was going to get, you know, like just like you see here, their fancy padded comfort grip handle on their big 1/2 inch ratchet. If I liked it, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go that route or bring in a 3/8 breaker bar first. Both would have the same kind of comfort grip handle. And then if I liked it, I was going to come in and I was going to, you know, order the other, whether it be the breaker bar or the ratchet. Well, this was too good to pass up. There's some more to the story that I don't want to talk about because that'll ruin a surprise in a future video, which I do actually have that here, but I'm not going to make it the video just yet because I'm waiting for some other things that were back ordered with it. But nonetheless, right here we've got a booklet that has repair instructions, which is good because that means this is a serviceable ratchet. Let's go ahead and check it out. This will be interesting. Typically you don't get paperwork with ratchets, so this is sort of a different take on things. I'm assuming that's what it would be. This is just you're in an industrial setting, or you're just going balls to the wall at your house or in your personal shop, just, you know, using the snot out of it. And this would kind of be more of like a Weekend Warrior DIY type of a setup, possibly. We'll just run with that. Needless to say, though, we've got the spare parts list. There's the breakdown. That is very cool. Coming in, it looks like they're giving us some sort of like disassembly instructions. Looks like it's just going to be the snap ring. Faceplate comes off, ratcheting mechanism, and I guess there's a spring and a detent type of a deal. And flipping it over, they want you to clean the cavity, right, where all the mechanisms reside. Throw your old stuff away, put the new stuff in. See, now we're learning as we go through. The pictograms are making more sense because that would be scale, rust, debris, dust. You know, that's Man, you should have been out here. It looked like a sand dune was coming down on town earlier. But right there, that's kind of what we're taking from this, because then you've got like the spick and span clean logo, right? So flip it front and back, you'll figure it out. We kind of got the gist of it. But it's very interesting though, because it would have been so easy to just put that in text. I assume their logic is it's a global market type of an item, and it's just the pictures work type of a thing for everyone, whereas the text would require many more pages and lots of paper and a greater expense. That said, the reason that I went with this one, aside from the tool of the day, and the reason I held off from doing the padded breaker bar or the big 1/2 inch, I was checking prices on it, and I came across several reviews on different sites. And everyone was complaining about the soft grip. They said it was really nice at first, but then just over time, it was torn up. I saw, I think, 2 separate reviews from machinists. And, they said, it's dry, they don't have any fluids or, cutting oil or anything like that, lubricants. And they said it was just chewed up. It looks like a dog chew toy, I think is how someone worded it. And I saw that consistently. And keep in mind, I've got no experience with it. I just thought it looked cool and would be nice on a breaker bar or a big 1/2 inch ratchet. And when this became available as the tool of the day, my thoughts were, hey, let's go ahead and pick that thing up. See what we think of this, because, of course, I could come in and you get, your 1/2 inch ratchet just like this without the padding. The breaker bar and the 1/2 inch drive, that's really where I feel like you would be getting the most out of a pad on a drive tool. 1/4 inch is kind of overkill. 3/8 it would be nice, on frequently used ratchets if they're going to be like in a clean environment type of a thing. But this is just a scenario where I thought, hey, this is perfect. We can bring this sucker in. It's for Stahlwille, this is a fantastic price. Think of them as you would Snap-on in terms of pricing for an American equivalent. These are always super expensive, and when you find them cheap, they become very tempting, particularly if you're just trying to get a feel for them. So that's what we have done here, and this is a quick release. It's pretty much just like my old school Craftsman, I just assume with better internals and a more ergonomic design. But the color scheme, that's big for a lot of people, not for others, but that is quick release, so it's what I'm accustomed to using pretty much the majority of my life. And then we've got a nice switch. Not sure if you can hear it, which is actually good if you don't hear it. But here on the release, you can kind of see that popping up. It doesn't actually extend out, but it would release. You can sort of see the ball retract there. And then in terms of the ratchet, now here's the big one. I'm going to stop at 12 o'clock. Very little play to get it back to where we would actually be applying our, leverage to the fastener. And that's the big deal, like my Craftsman ones are fine, but it's a situation where I go to 12 o'clock, and you're almost to 1 o'clock before this actually starts tightening the fastener or loosening it. So that was the tool of the day. The little guy is tiny. Keep in mind I've got big hands, but I mean, geez. I don't know. I think just because of the brand prominence, I was expecting something a little bit bigger. That said, I will grab my Craftsman and we'll do a comparison to it. But we have more goodies to check out, so let's do that. This is a package deal here. And I want you to think about this for a moment, alright? So we've got the Wiha 20715 slotted offset, and then we've got the Wiha 16112 Phillips offset. Which one of these do you think would cost more? And that's a spoiler alert. One of them does cost more. If you were thinking, they should both be like $4. Wrong. One of these costs more. Now, would it be the Phillips or would it be the slotted? Well, what do you think? Which one do you think would be more complex and therefore have the heftier price tag? It's probably not what you're thinking, because I fall in that same boat. So in my left hand is our Phillips offset, and then over here we have got our slotted. The one that actually costs more is going to be this guy, the offset slotted. Price for that one is $562. Price for the Phillips, $534. Nothing groundbreaking. I mean, we're talking about like a quarter, essentially, 28 cents if my math is correct. The thing is, though, it just seems like you would have more invested in making the Phillips offset than you would the slotted. Now, it could be a scenario where maybe the Phillips is just produced, you know, at a much, much larger quantity, and therefore the costs come down. I don't exactly know, but that is kind of the opposite of what I believe most people would think would be the price points on these. So let me try and kind of get this in for you. So this is what I'm talking about. I don't understand why it's so difficult for this to focus when the cheap cameras do it so well. But what we have is we have number 1 Phillips here, Phillips 2 there, and then we've got Wiha, and then we've got the 161/1-2. Same thing here, you've got your size, which that's upside down, so we'll spin it. It's actually really hard to see, if you were curious, at least from this angle with the tripod. The reason that I got these, if you recall from, I believe, one of my first ever videos we got when we picked up stuff from KC Tool, I'm always looking for what I felt would be the perfect stubby. And the perfect stubby needs to be ridiculously stubby, in my opinion, because that's why I'm wanting a stubby screwdriver. I got this Fila one, and I love it. And the thing that I do with this, and you know, it's going to vary by application. I'm sure certain fields and certain hobbies would have different scenarios where this would be a huge lifesaver and worth purchasing. For me, as dumb as it sounds, it's stuff, you know, like trim, speakers, rear shelf speakers, if anyone's still, you know, kind of hanging out in the 80s, early 90s era, you know, or messing with cars. I cannot tell you, like, the rake on the back glass is just too extreme of an angle for a stubby, even the stubbiest of stubbies. That's why I bought this. I went in, I take a look at the overall length of all of the stubbies, and this Fila one was actually the stubbiest. And it'll get in a lot of places, but not as many as this one. When I was like 14, 15, messing with the cars, you know, switching the speakers, I was actually painting over the Pioneer text. I can't remember. I think it was like TSX9. It was big, huge letters on the back of the 6.5, 6x9s, I think they were. And I just thought it looked stupid. And of course, I didn't have the money to replace the speakers, so I'm just going to spray paint black over the text, right? Kind of make it low-key stealth. And it was a nightmare because I did not have a screwdriver that could get in there. Now, the screws luckily weren't super tight, so what I did is I took a bit and I just dropped it in place, and I was able, I think one of them I had to use a wrench on, and the others I could just kind of get my fingers in there and turn them. This is perfect for that application. Now, what I like about this one, and it seems dumb until you've used it, right there, sort of that, it's not knurling. Man, this is driving me crazy. I don't know if I need to reset the camera or something. But right here, that comes in super handy as you're trying to turn this thing. It's a nice grippy surface. It's a very slim profile. These don't have that same slim profile, but they've got a plastic sleeve on them that is somewhat comfortable, you know, especially compared to like the straight metal. If it's super cold and you're using these, you would probably appreciate the handle. But the way this one was, I had a number 2 and a slot. And with this one, I've actually got a 1 and a 2, and then the 2 separate slots. So I thought it would be worth bringing in because I do use it, and I found more and more uses. Kind of like the miniature Cobras, a little 5-inch. You're like, oh man, that's too tiny to be practical. And then you use them, and you're like, man, this is like the best size they offer. And that's sort of where these come in. This is a deal. If you don't have these in your toolbox, you probably think they're stupid. If you pick one up, I guarantee you will find uses for it, and you'll be glad you have it. And they're very affordable, very reasonably priced. So that is all the time we will invest with those two. Sticking with the Wiha theme here, I want to come in. I felt like I've needed to do this for a really long time, and I'm glad I finally did. I've talked this thing up, and for good reason. This is not just a standard Wiha soft grip screwdriver. It's not just slotted, right? If you notice here, man, this is driving me crazy, that focusing. That has a scale on it, and if you see inch and I rotate the barrel this way, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the Wiha Measure Up. Now, I have their Phillips version, and I've used the snot out of it. It's way, way better than having to guesstimate, particularly when you don't have the hardware. If you're doing some freak job, like something through a frame rail on a car you've never messed with, you need to know, because it's typically you're not drilling straight through the frame rail. There's usually like another bracket or something you're going to have to account for type of a scenario, or you want to mock it up with the flat washers and locks you might have on hand. That is really what I use this for. and I think I've used it to turn a couple of screws. I use the other ones primarily, but it's kind of like the offsets. You think it kind of seems cheesy, and then you get it and you're like, man, this is really handy. The alternative for me is to take like a really cheap set of dial calipers and kind of throw them in there and, you know, use the depth gauge to go through. But the problem is when you're underneath a car, even with cheap calipers, you don't want to drop them. You don't want to bang them into something. They're an expensive precision instrument. If I bang or drop this, I don't care, and the truth of the matter is it's going to be fine. Now, I know some people might be appalled that that's imperial. Well, just rotate her over and count millimeters. So if it's a situation where, you know, you frequently jump around, you do old cars for some of your buddies, and then, you know, your bread and butter that keeps you in business is, you know, modern cars, you got both scales here, and I promise you, these two come in handy. Let me go ahead. I grabbed it from over there as well. This is my number 2 Phillips, and like I said, the set is complete. As far as I know, these are the only 2 measure-ups that they offer. So we've got both of them. The cool thing is, and this is actually kind of practical as well, if you take a look, our last incremented measurement there is 3 inches, and then we get to 3.5. Since this one is longer, or slotted, it's actually to 4 inches. So should you have a situation where something was like 3 3/4 of an inch or something like that, you can actually kind of pinpoint it better with the slotted one. So price on that I believe was like $8.55. Nothing major. Now the thing I've said multiple times, and I'll say it again, if you were wanting to try out Wiha's soft finish, instead of just buying a standard number 2 or a standard slotted screwdriver, look into the measure-ups, because then you're kind of knocking 2 birds with 1 stone. You get to try their tips, you get to see what you think of their handles before you invest in the full set, and you get something that actually turns out to be very handy, at least in my opinion. So I'm very happy to have those two kind of paired up together. As we continue digging through, we have right here a little bit of thinks. This should be a philo bit unless they've changed. That is correct. Awesome. Ever accruing bit set there. And then right here, this is not the tool of the day, but this is on sale from Wiha. And it is way smaller than I thought it would be. But this is their Impact Pocket Go Box. Now, this little piece here, I picked it up for $24.99. You can get it from Wiha. You can get it from KC Tool for the same price. For a little bit, they hadn't updated the website. I think this is actually brand new as well. But nonetheless, wherever you prefer to pick up Wiha stuff, you can probably find this for $24.99. What's really neat, aside from this being like a very, very small, slim profile that you can take with you, we've got a situation where that little bit holder there, I think that's around 9 to 15, depending where you're getting it. And when you consider that you're getting all the bits, the case, and the ratchet for 25 bucks, that's one of those good deals. I never planned to bring in their insulated screwdriver set, but it was one of their first big deals I'd ever seen. And when you were getting a set of high-quality insulated screwdrivers for a stupid low price, I just couldn't pass it up. That's kind of where we are with this. Plus, this has a nice assortment of bits. I think you can kind of see there. We've got Phillips 1, 2, 3. We've got some hex. We've got a whole big assortment of torque stuff, which is going to be really nice. I assume those are posi drive. We got some square. Looks like some more hex. Probably another set of 1, 2, 3 on the Phillips. But there is a look at the ratchet. I'm wanting to do a standalone video on this, but I'm afraid some people might be mad if we don't tear into it. So right there is the bit driver. That's how small it is. It is rated for impact, which is a big deal. It's not just like we're throwing that philo bit in or something. These are actually intended for use in an impact. And the contents here on the back, 1, 2, and 3 Phillips in high-vis yellow. You can see those kind of sticking up there. We got a number 1, 2, and 3 Phillips. We've got 1, 2, and 3 square, 1, 2, and 3 posi drive. Hex sizes, 8th, 9/64, 5/32, 3/16, 7/32, and quarter. And then metric size hexes, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Torques, T10, 15, 20, 25, 27, 30, 40. And then we actually get a 1/4 inch hex to 1/4 inch square adapter, which that should let us run sockets, for example. A 1/4 inch locking magnetic bit holder, which I really like that thing. That's why I bought it separately before this existed. And of course, a 72 tooth reversible bit holding ratchet. So, is this easy to open? It might be. Oh, that would be ideal. Oh, God bless you, Wiha. Okay, I thought this was going to be one of those blister packs that you like lacerate a finger getting open, and that was not the case. So I'll probably still do a standalone on it in a little better detail, just because I think it's super cool. We've got, let's take a look at this. Okay, so these are broken down. I'm not sure if that should have been connected or not, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little plastic holders. That's what's holding these bits in. They look really good with the blue sleeve as well. The bits I've been using are the red sleeve Terminator. They're kind of a little bit longer than your standard bits. But there's our drive adapter, so we can kind of run some sockets with it. Back here, same thing. So we got 5, I guess 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. So it's broken down between 9 and 6. I assume you could snap these off if you wanted to change things around. But there is the high-vis yellow, and that does stick out like a sore thumb. So if you're somebody who frequently swaps bits and then loses them, this might be a good option for you. And, I assume the bits are all going to be numbered and taken care of. This guy right here, this is the business end, and I'm telling you, I actually do like it. Let me check this out. I was kind of sad. We got 0 stickers. I think that's the first time I got 0 stickers. But hey, I'm sure we will survive somehow. So right here, this is the little ratchet, and it is little, but check it out, man. Left, right, and then of course, we drop this in. It's actually not bad. I mean, for that small and $25, I mean, this is pretty good, I've got to say. But let's go ahead and we'll just grab one of these. We'll go with the number 3 because it's the biggest and easiest for you to see and me to demonstrate with the camera. So we've got the high vis there, and I thought it might have been like some cheap tape is what it looks like, but it does seem to at least be painted. I don't think the camera's going to showcase it well, but it looks like it's almost just like some sort of a sleeve I could take off. I don't have the world's longest fingernails, but I am not breaking that. So it seems to be decent what they have. We'll come in, put that in place. There we go. Now, the big thing, another big selling point, at least in my opinion for this thing, and it's a good video to have done this, with these, picture a rear package shelf, right, with a speaker, or some tight confines where you need something like this. I mentioned to you how I handled it as like a 14-year-old. I took a bit, I put it in place, and then if I had to, I would get a wrench on it and turn it, okay? At the time, I had no idea these existed. I don't even know if they did exist, but that's about as low of a profile as you're going to get. It's the bit and just a little bit more for the ratchet. And case in point, this was the smallest stubby I could find, right? And this is a great example for you. We're not just having to fit the shaft in when it's in a tight space. You're having to fit everything above it, which is the handle. Now, the ball ends, they're fantastic on stubbies. The problem is, when you actually need the stubby to get in a very tight, confined area, that virtually eliminates the effectiveness. And keep in mind, this is a very, very short stubby. Overall length and handle, okay? This guy right here, our little Wiha Bit Ratchet, if I get these side by side, which that's kind of the best way to do it, the tip of the Philo stubby actually extends a little bit past the selector switch on our Bit Ratchet. I want you to think about that. If you're using this stubby, or one that's a little bit bigger, and you're like, man, I wish I had that, that would work. Well, this becomes a realistic alternative, and very well in that segment, because like I said, you can just drop this in and go to town. This is a situation, I don't care that the ratchet's small. It's going to be ideal, just like these offset screwdrivers. In fact, let's compare this. This is the slotted one, this is the big side of the blade. If I get that lined up right, it's just barely a longer reach than the slotted, okay? And keep in mind, you do have this typically in my applications. The back side is not an issue. It's typically, you know, like from here forward that I would be concerned about. But it could vary depending on what you're doing. But look at the overall length. This is the Bit Ratchet. This is our offset screwdriver. It doesn't even make it to the end of the pad, if you will, the plastic sleeve. So this thing is tiny, and that is good. Now, in comparison here, since we have it, you kind of get a feel. I mean, that makes the Stahlwille Ratchet look a little bit bigger, but this thing is ridiculously tiny. That's smaller than I anticipated. I will certainly say that. But I have a feeling that this thing is going to come in handy. Now, I kind of wanted to buy 2 of these, one to leave at work, one to have here. Now, just in case I ever have to bring my impact to work and I forget the bit set, which I've been using the Philo one, I will say that. I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I wanted to make sure that I was happy with the quality of this before I went ahead and bought 2, but I actually like it very well. It's not necessarily the most, you know, confidence-inspiring, you know, selector switch, but it seems solid. I think if anything failed on this ratchet, it would be the selector switch. What's cool here, and this is a big selling point I should have pointed out to you, if it is a super tight area and you are, say, unable to grab the end of the bit ratchet and turn, you can actually come in, if you keep your tabs on the bit. Note that I'm making this happen from the spinner on the top of the ratchet. So this actually is a pretty well thought out tool, and it's a fairly comprehensive bit set. And again, given the fact that it's in such a tiny profile, is just crazy. There's a foam, and that basically serves 3 points. It's going to keep these bits separated and keep them in place. It's going to deaden the sound and vibration when you're transporting it, and it's going to protect the ratchet. So right there, it's just crazy to see something that small, man. But here it is. And of course, the Wiha branding. So that thing is legit. I will do a standalone video on it. It probably won't be much more involved than that. I'll try to showcase a few more things for you. But that is it for this tool haul. $24.99. This is a special price right now on sale. Roughly $5 for each of these. Our little Wiha Measure Up, you're looking around, you know, 8 and change, if you will. Forgot to put this back in there. No worries. See, this needs to be high visibility Wiha. Then I wouldn't have made that mistake. We'll blame it on them. It's fine. And last but not least, we've got the Stahlwille Ratchet, which is oh so freaking tiny. I tell you what, I can't resist doing this. I'm going to go grab the 1/4-inch drive Craftsman so you'll get a feel for this, and I need one as well. 1 sec. I also realized my dinner has been done for about 10 minutes. I'm going to have to run inside and get that taken care of. But this is a classic. It's the old school US-made Craftsman. That gives you an idea. So it's really not that much shorter. I think it's just when you get used to this profile, which this is a pretty beefy handle. It's significantly thicker than things you find on the market today. Which, granted, you know, this one's probably significantly stronger despite that. It's just a deal where you need to see them side by side. And I'm excited. Let's go ahead. You can kind of... It's the slop coming back, which everyone's probably used one of these ratchets. You know exactly what I mean. We're trying to get things done, and you have to wait for it to actually start fastening. With this one, with the fine teeth, and you can hear the difference, it's pretty clear. But we're just starting the work much sooner. So there those two are side by side. I went ahead and grabbed this guy since I had to get that one. These will pair very well. Again, this was not my intention. I wanted to go 1/2 inch with Stahlwille. Everything happens for a reason. Hopefully it's a good one. It's not going to go too much in detail here. I'm going to do that for another planned video. So if you wanted to see more of this guy, you will get that. We'll just have to wait. Most importantly, I seriously have to go get dinner out of the oven, and hope there's not a fire. And check out the Mavs, because it's quite the new setup there. 4 new players. 3 of them should be in action tonight. So with that said, let me know what you think about this stuff. If you have used any of it, how are you liking it? If you've never used any of it, does any of it strike your fancy? Is it something you're going to pick up, save up for? Let me know your thoughts. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can check out the forum. I'll probably start trying to do some pictures and write-ups on stuff again as well. Used to do that back in the day. Similarly, make sure that you follow me on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and of course, follow along on Instagram as well. And with that said, I will catch you back here for more action from the shop.